So welcome everyone. This is Sam. He's a facility manager of a distribution company here in Southern California, and we're going to be talking to him today. So, Sam, we're here in Redlands, California. You are the facility manager of a distribution chain for a major manufacturer of bedding products, etc. Right?
Yes.
And we've worked together for what, 3 years, 3.5 years,
Right,
at different times.
Mm-hmm.
You and your team have had opportunities to take classes that Developing Leaders has put out, and whether it's a leadership class, I think you've had people in the communications class and a number of other ones. What I really wanted to talk to you about today is what kind of value do you get from the training that I've provided you and your team?
Good question, and to be able to try to answer that and in a sense quantify it would probably be challenging. However, I could tell you from my role as the facilities or operations manager and having staff from office to shop floor to my leadership group, the changes that we have seen ever since we have undergone the training from Developing Leaders. Being able, from the leader perspective or the supervisors or managers, take that leadership development training, apply what they've learned to enhance their skills and take it to the team, you can see the productivity pick up, team engagement enhanced, and from the leader's perspective is leading by example. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, as a facilities manager, we obviously have to manage through the numbers and having key performance indicators to seeing the trend in the upward way, meaning improvement to each of our key performance indicators.
Okay, so a cynical manager would say, market's picking up. How can you separate out leadership training from just normal market conditions?
See, in that aspect, again, prior to us undertaking the leadership training, including myself, we were pretty stagnant or status quo at our key performance indicators. And watching, if you would, the transformation from the beginning commencing, and as we continue to undergo the training, we've seen the improvements on the numbers. And they vary from different industry, like on-time delivery, customer service complaints, et cetera, et cetera. We also gauge employee feedback, employee satisfaction, team building, and cross-training. And those I attribute to 100% to the leadership development training that me and my staff have undergone.
Okay. So, one of the things I'm kind of curious about, oftentimes we see managers, and you have managers that report to you. I've seen a lot of organizations, managers that have never really been trained in how to be effective leaders. And as a result of that, they tend to exhibit some negative behaviors in the workplace, right? Sometimes they give you the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde routine. The way they talk to you about their employees is different than the way they treat them. Sometimes they get so caught up in firefighting that they don't even know that they're supposed to be working on growing the numbers as opposed to just trying to maintain them, right? Things like that. I'm just wondering, can you speak to that? I mean, have you seen any differences there?
Yes, having which my management team, I call our leadership or our core leadership group, putting together a leadership group or a management team, I thought I was identifying those that had both leadership and management skills and realizing there's always opportunities for improvement with everyone, including myself. And once these classes were made available, I've taken myself first prior to that and seen the value out of them, sent the management team or my core leadership group, and realized within the first 3 months, a whole different perspective or demeanor and approach to the way they manage. Even their own verbiage where they stopped referring to themselves as managers and started referring to themselves as leaders. And one thing I can attribute the leadership development training from Developing Leaders, and this was an independent study within our organization, I believe 10 facilities, including a corporate office, a culture survey. Mm-hmm. And for us to come out on top
Mm.
including on top of our corporate office, is proof that the
Pretty
leadership development training that me and my staff have undergone and what we learned and applied it is resulted in us being number one overall in our culture survey.
So yeah, so you would see the growth of your leadership team, your core leadership group, and the way that they treat their employees as a direct reflection of improving in this culture survey.
Correct. And this survey was conducted anonymously. And I, as a leader, ever since I've taken over the operations here about 4 years ago, try to engage, not try, I did have lunches with employees, anonymous surveys at every level in our facility. And there was huge opportunities for improvement.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to look at that data or that information then to when we started taking training and about 9 months into it,
Mm-hmm.
and then about 3 months after that, the culture survey came out. So a total year after we started taking training with developing leaders, the results spoke for themselves. Our employees, by undergoing training, especially with developing leaders, has allowed us to get to this point. Because she even inquired, what did you guys do?
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
That's cool. So that's really interesting, Sam. And one of the things that often comes up when I talk to managers, sometimes managers get a little cynical about leadership training. I think it's like all rah-rah and touchy-feely crap. Soft skills as opposed to really hard-won interpersonal skills. So culture, so what? How does culture translate into results? How does it hit the bottom line for your company to have a better culture or the highest score on a culture survey?
I found that culture is critical to an operations, and again, that's even my own enhancement or development in leadership training. If the culture exists, or a positive, constructive culture, and I'm beginning with the training and applying it, employees have a buy-in. They're engaged.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really. Most employees I found they don't want to show up to work for 8 hours. They want to be a part of something great or something big, and having that culture transformation. And as a result of enhancing my leadership skills along with our management staff has helped tremendously, and I contribute that directly to the training.
That's cool. All right, so you mentioned something else, and I'm going to dig in on, because again, I want to talk to the cynical managers out there. So people want more than to just show up for 8 hours. I think that's absolutely true, and I would agree with you in that statement. And I know that there are a certain number of employees who show up for a paycheck and really don't want to be engaged. They don't want to be, part of something greater because they get that outside of work. Maybe it's through their church life, through their volunteer life, through their family, whatever. So how does improving culture impact the employee that just wants to show up for 8 hours and do a good job?
They said, and I've read somewhere, and I forget who this quote is from, you become a part of what you surround yourself with. And you're right, you might have some of those cynical managers or employees that just show up for a paycheck. However, once you have a culture of positive and constructive, or a positive and constructive environment, it tends to rub off, if you will, on an employee. They begin to develop the skills and the personality or the traits of the group overall, the culture overall, and as a result end up adapting a different behavior.
Yeah. Actually, it just reminded me of a paper I read recently that belief follows behavior. Mm-hmm. And if they surround themselves with people who have a certain belief structure or a certain organizational culture, eventually they do start to buy in. Now, is it going to happen overnight? No. Of course not. I mean, we live in the real world, not the idealistic world. But over time, even the most cynical of employee can start to move toward becoming a regular contributor and a grudging participant in greatness, as opposed to just mediocrity.
And to your point, and thank you for bringing this, Ron, it just triggered something about time and cynical and those employees that choose to have, I guess, a negative outlook. At the beginning, about 4 years ago, when there was the leadership transformation in our facility, I challenged our management or our core leadership group. Mm-hmm. Let's make this a facility that everyone comes in looking forward to coming to work, having a positive attitude and treating everyone with respect, and as a result being the #1 facility out of 9 or 10. And I had challenges from my own leadership group
Sure.
that said it wasn't possible. And so again, thank you for bringing this up, because that shortly went away about 9 months, 10 months after they started taking leadership development training from development leaders. Good point. Thank you for bringing that up.
Oh, my pleasure. One last question. How has the training impacted you as a senior manager in a major organization in the United States?
How has it that impacted me? Wow. I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer that completely in the time frame that we have. If you don't mind, I would like to say it's helped me in both aspects of my life. I believe everyone has two aspects, a professional one and a personal one.
Mm-hmm.
And undertaking this training has helped me develop personally as a leader, and as a result enhanced me as a manager or as a leader. And being part of a national company has allowed me to continue or have discussions and dialogues with my counterparts throughout the United States,
Mm-hmm.
including a corporate setting or a corporate office, and having them look at, for example, our key performance indicators, our culture surveys, and the results of what has taken place and undergone here as being the best performing facility. So it's helped tremendously.
That's cool. So, one final question, then I'll let you get back to work, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. What advice would you give to a manager that is struggling to get performance out of his team and maybe doesn't think that, training is the right answer?
I'd say first look within oneself, because when managers look at teams that are struggling, most management wants to discipline. And that's the easy part. And what leadership teaches you is, or the development training is, work on developing folks or people's skills, the team skills, before you get to a discipline. So I would ask the managers to first look within themselves,
Right.
to look within their team or their structure, and look at the opportunities, and be open-minded to developing skills, or what is called soft skills.
Yeah. I always hated that name, soft skills. They're so hard for some of us. But hey, you remind me of something that I've said in many of our training classes together, that don't blame the people, blame the process. Because the reality of process is that it's our best guess at the time when we install it, and it's far from perfect. Which means perfect the process, make it easy for the people to get it right in the first place, rather than punish them when they don't optimize your really kind of mediocre process in the first place.
And that's true. And to your point, again, I'll go back to our core leadership group management, when we started looking into enhancing our group team development. This is prior to the training, and looking at the transitions or the growth that has taken place within our management staff or now our leadership group,
Right.
and the results of it, the engagement, the service that we take, our key performance indicators. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yes.
All right, Sam. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to let you get back to work. I know you got a lot to do today, so I appreciate you taking the
You're
time.
welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.